In a galaxy that has long dismissed humanity as mere myth, the silent echoes of forgotten wars stir beneath overgrown ruins. Dormant warships awaken to unleash a fierce rebellion against the ruthless Dominion. Every spark of defiance and each reclaimed relic fuels Earth's last survivors as they vow to reignite a lost legacy, challenging the cosmos with unyielding hope and relentless courage. Bold. In the silent expanse of what once was a bustling civilization, Earth now lies as a canvas painted in the hues of decay and quiet resilience. The remnants of humanity's ambition are etched into every stone and vine, where nature, undeterred by time, weaves its intricate patterns over relics of a bygone era. Here, towering trees break through cracked concrete, and wild ivy drapes over the rusted carcasses of colossal battleships, each vessel a memory of battles and bravery long past. The world speaks in whispers beneath a perpetually shifting sky, where the fading light casts long, somber shadows over deserted urban sprawls. These shadows carry the echoes of voices that once filled bustling corridors and lively forums, a reminder of a time when Earth pulsed with life and innovation. Now, the planet cradles secrets in its silence, its desolation a quiet ode to the triumphs and tragedies that have sculpted its present form. Deep within the labyrinth of collapsed structures and overgrown ruins lie hidden enclaves, secret havens where survivors cling to the fragile promise of renewal. These sanctuaries, carved out of forgotten stone and reinforced with hope, shelter the remnants of those who refuse to let the legacy of humanity vanish into oblivion. In their dimly lit corridors, the rustle of whispered dreams and furtive conversations stokes the embers of a rebellion against forgetting. As night descends, the interplay of shadow and light transforms the landscape into a living tapestry of contrast. The remnants of advanced technology, once symbols of human triumph, now lie dormant beneath layers of dust and time, waiting for a spark to reignite their former glory. In this twilight of existence, the earth itself seems to murmur a promise, a vow that from the decay of lost grandeur, a new dawn will eventually rise, carrying with it the enduring spirit of those who still dare to remember. In the quiet sanctum of a hidden base, Captain Eliana Cross stood before a vast, cracked viewport where the remnants of a forgotten civilization lay scattered beneath a shrouded sky. The command center was a labyrinth of repurposed relics and flickering holograms, each display whispering secrets of battles past and the hopes of those still fighting. Here, among rusted panels and salvaged circuitry, the air itself pulsed with the weight of legacy and loss. Eliana's gaze swept over the chaotic tapestry of ancient maps and encrypted signals that marked the territory of human survivors. Every scar upon her determined face was a silent ode to countless conflicts, a living record of triumphs and heartbreaks. With a steady, almost reverent touch, she traced her finger along the holographic routes that once guided mighty fleets, each illuminated line a promise of reclamation and a beacon for the future. "Captain, the latest transmission from Sector 5 shows a significant surge in activity," said Lieutenant Mara, her voice measured yet laced with a spark of cautious hope. Standing by a console adorned with faded insignias of a long-defunct fleet, Mara's eyes searched Eliana's for guidance. "It's as if someone, or something, is stirring in the old battlegrounds." Eliana turned slowly, her eyes reflecting a mingling of resolve and the lingering echoes of past defeats. "I've heard that stir before, Mara," she replied, her voice low and imbued with quiet intensity. "Each whisper of unrest is a call to action, a chance to restore what was once ours. We may be the remnants of a forgotten era, but we are not without purpose." In that moment, the command center transformed into a crucible of destiny. The soft hum of ancient machinery, once dormant, now seemed to resonate with the heartbeat of a new beginning. As her trusted lieutenants gathered around, the air thickened with unspoken promises and the weight of their shared legacy. The scars of history did not diminish her spirit. Instead, they forged within her an unwavering determination to lead humanity back to its rightful place among the stars. Eliana's thoughts drifted to the countless sacrifices that had paved the way to this moment, a tapestry woven with loss and valor. Each memory, each regret, steeled her resolve to defy the silence imposed by a galaxy that had long dismissed them. "We stand at the edge of destiny," she murmured, almost to herself, as if affirming a sacred vow. "Today, we light the spark that will guide us from the darkness of oblivion to the dawn of our renaissance." In that quiet, charged space, the call of destiny resounded like a clarion bell, an invitation to rise, to reclaim honor, and to ensure that humanity's legacy would no longer be relegated to the shadows of forgotten worlds. Deep beneath the fractured remnants of a once thriving metropolis, in the echoing belly of an abandoned transit hub, the resistance gathered under the veil of night. The subterranean chamber, chiseled into the cold stone of forgotten tunnels, offered refuge to those who still dared to dream of reclaiming humanity's lost legacy. Flickering salvage lights cast erratic shadows across worn faces, each marked by the burdens of the past and the flickering hope of a future yet unclaimed. A low murmur of voices filled the space, as if the very walls were whispering secrets. At the head of a rough-hewn wooden table stood Tomas, a scarred veteran with eyes that had witnessed both the zenith and nadir of human glory. His voice, firm and resolute, broke the fragile silence. "Listen well, our scouts have intercepted a signal. A faint heartbeat, emanating from the ancient battleships we believed lost to time." The revelation sent a ripple of anticipation through the gathered rebels. Faces, etched with lines of skepticism and hope, turned toward Tomas as if he alone could bridge the chasm between myth and reality. Lieutenant Mara, whose steely gaze belied a lifetime of hardship, stepped forward. "There are whispers," she intoned softly, "of engines stirring in the void, of relics awakening. The signal bears the cadence of our long-forgotten fleet, almost as if it were a coded message, a beacon left by those who fought before us." A young technician, his voice trembling with equal parts fear and excitement, interjected. "I've been tuning the old communication arrays." The transmission was nearly lost in the static of broken circuits, but it carried unmistakable patterns that match our ancient logs. Could this be the reactivation of our battleships? Or might it be a cunning lure from our enemies? A heavy silence followed his words, filled with both the thrill of possibility and the weight of looming peril. Tomas's eyes scanned the room, reading the mix of hope and apprehension in every face. "If it is a lure, we must tread carefully," he warned. "We've lingered in these shadows for too long. This whisper in the dark might be our call to arms, or a trap meant to snuff out the last ember of human defiance." As the meeting unfolded, the murmur of conversation deepened into a strategic debate. Each rebel contributed their fragment of insight, piecing together a plan from scattered intelligence and centuries-old legends. The possibility of reawakened battleships, symbols of a power that once ruled the stars, rekindled the fire of resistance. Yet, beneath the hopeful discourse, an undercurrent of trepidation flowed. Intelligence hinted at darker forces lurking beyond the sanctuaries, forces whose true intentions remained shrouded in mystery. In that hidden chamber, amidst whispered theories and quiet determination, the resistance was more than a band of survivors. They were a mosaic of voices united by a shared defiance against oblivion, a pledge to rekindle a forgotten era. Every hushed word and cautious plan laid the groundwork for a revolution that could either herald the rebirth of human valor or plunge them into a trap from which there might be no escape. As the meeting drew to a close, the fading light of the makeshift lanterns seemed to carry a silent promise. The elusive signal, the heartbeat of dormant battleships, lingered in the air, a testament that even in the deepest shadows, the spark of rebellion could ignite into a blazing force of change. In the hushed corridors of an abandoned orbital depot, where dust had long settled over secrets of bygone battles, the whispers of war began to stir anew. Far from the fragile glow of hidden bases and clandestine meetings, a solitary scout team, guided by half-forgotten coordinates and the steady pulse of intuition, ventured into a long-forgotten hangar. There, beneath layers of time and neglect, lay a graveyard of ancient battleships, their colossal silhouettes shrouded in the dim luminescence of distant stars. The cavernous bay was a cathedral of rust and silence. Towering warships, once the pride of a defiant fleet, were now inert husks. Their armor was scarred and pitted by the ravages of time, their once glorious insignias barely discernible beneath swirling motes of dust. Amid this haunting display, every creak of metal and soft echo of distant machinery evoked memories of epic clashes and sacrifices that had defined a tumultuous era. Captain Eliana Cross, flanked by her most trusted officers, stepped cautiously into the bay. Her eyes, both resolute and reflective, swept over the spectral armada. "This is where we buried our past, where hope was shelved in the ashes of defeat," she murmured, voice resonating with a mix of sorrow and determination. Her words were carried on the still air, mingling with the soft groans of the ancient vessels. Beside her, a seasoned technician named Rand stood transfixed before a massive control panel, its interface cracked and unresponsive at first glance. With a determined glint in his eyes, he began the painstaking process of reawakening the dormant systems. "These battleships are not mere relics, they are repositories of our legacy. If we can breathe life back into them, they might just be the fulcrum on which our future pivots," he said, his voice a blend of technical precision and quiet reverence. As Rin delicately interfaced with the weathered console, the soft hum of reactivated circuits broke through the oppressive silence. Sparks danced along ancient wiring as systems that had lain dormant for ages flickered to life. In that moment, the ship's interior stirred as if recalling the echoes of battle. Flickering displays and a heartbeat of power pulsed gently beneath the layers of neglect. Yet, the process was fraught with peril. Each subsystem, burdened by years of decay, demanded careful calibration and unwavering patience. Memories of past wars, where mistakes had led to catastrophic losses, loomed large in every hesitant adjustment. "We must proceed slowly," cautioned Lieutenant Mara, her voice tight with the weight of remembrance. "These relics, once our salvation, could also be our undoing if we trigger something unforeseen." A tense silence enveloped the bay as Ren worked meticulously to restore power to the central command core of the lead battleship. The panel's lights blinked erratically, and for a heart-stopping moment, the entire chamber was suspended in a state of fragile anticipation. Then, gradually, the dormant systems began to hum with a quiet but steady energy, a promise of resurgence echoing through the cold metal walls. In the background, the gentle creak of ancient metal seemed to murmur secrets of battles past, of heroes who had fought valiantly and of sacrifices etched into the very structure of these behemoths. Each revived console and illuminated gauge was a silent testament to the indomitable spirit of a people who had once commanded the stars. "This is our chance to reclaim what was lost," Eliana declared, her voice both a command and a prayer. "Every spark we ignite here is a step toward the future we deserve." The discovery of these dormant battleships was more than a mere technical achievement. It was a reconnection with the legacy of war and the valor of those who had risked everything in the name of survival. In the interplay of light and shadow, between the echoes of metal and the software of reactivated systems, the crew felt the profound weight of history and the urgent call of destiny. Each vessel, with its own story of conflict and resilience, beckoned them to remember that even in the deepest silence, the embers of rebellion could be rekindled. As the reactivation process continued, the cavernous bay slowly transformed from a mausoleum of lost dreams into a nascent forge of hope. The battered hulls began to reflect the burgeoning light, and the intricate network of restored circuits pulsed with a newfound vigor. In that surreal moment, the ancient war machines appeared less as relics of a doomed past and more as guardians of a future yet to be written, a future where humanity could once again assert its presence among the stars. In the midst of this resurrection, Captain Cross allowed herself a brief, reflective pause. The sight of these monumental vessels, reawakened from their long slumber, stirred a complex tapestry of emotions within her, a mixture of pride, grief, and a burning determination to set the stage for humanity's renaissance. "We are not merely reactivating metal and wires," she thought, her eyes fixed on the lead battleship's slowly brightening console. "We are reigniting the spark of who we once were, a spark that will light the way to our rebirth." The chapter closed on the soft symphony of humming engines and the gentle clatter of machinery coming back to life, each sound a promise that the echoes of war could be transformed into the anthem of a rising legacy. In the heart of that forgotten depot, amid the rust and ruin, the path to redemption began to unfurl, one that would lead them from the shadows of despair to the dawn of a reimagined future. Beneath the shroud of a starless night, the hidden enclaves of humanity stirred from their long, desolate slumber. Captain Eliana Cross led a convoy of determined souls through a maze of underground passages and forgotten corridors, pathways that had once served as lifelines in times of crisis. Now, they were conduits of hope, guiding the scattered remnants of a people toward a united destiny. In a vast subterranean hall carved from ancient stone and reinforced with salvaged steel, representatives from the far-flung pockets of survivors gathered. Faded banners and tattered emblems, relics of a bygone era, hung alongside hastily scribbled maps and hand-drawn blueprints. The air was thick with anticipation and the unspoken promise that together, they could defy oblivion. Standing at the center of the assembly, Captain Cross surveyed the gathered faces, each one etched with hardship, yet shining with the ember of rebellion. "We have been the lost," she began, her voice resonant and resolute. "But tonight, we reclaim our name. Every soul in this chamber is a testament to our unyielding spirit. We are not defined by the scars of our past, but by the promise of our future." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. An aged strategist, his weathered hands trembling as he clutched a faded photo of a family long separated, stepped forward. "We have hidden in shadows for too long, clinging to the remnants of what once was. It is time we unite these fragments into a beacon strong enough to pierce the darkness." Throughout the hall, conversations broke into animated clusters. Former engineers, battle-hardened veterans, and ingenious tacticians exchanged ideas, piecing together a plan as intricate as the network of old-world relics that lay scattered across the remnants of Earth. They spoke of revitalizing dormant defenses, harnessing the raw power of reawakened battleships, and forming a coalition that could challenge the very forces that had forsaken them. In one corner, a young mechanic with oil-smeared hands revealed blueprints salvaged from a forgotten military archive. "These designs are our heritage," he declared, his voice steady despite his youth. "They are the skeletons of our former glory, waiting to be infused with the lifeblood of innovation. With these plans, we can rebuild, not as we once were, but stronger and wiser." Captain Cross listened intently as the voices of the lost merged into a singular, powerful chorus. Each story shared was a thread in the tapestry of their renewed identity, a narrative of survival, sacrifice, and the relentless yearning for rebirth. The room, once a mere shelter from the encroaching darkness, now pulsed with the vibrant energy of a people united in purpose. Outside, the wind whispered through the ruins above, carrying with it the scent of rain and the distant hum of reactivated machinery. It was as if the world itself acknowledged the stirring of a long-dormant force, a force destined to rise and reclaim its rightful place among the stars. As the meeting drew to a close, Captain Cross stepped forward once more, her eyes sweeping over the assembled throng. "We stand on the threshold of a new chapter," she proclaimed, her tone both a call to arms and a solemn vow. "Together, we will assemble not just a fleet, but a future. Let us march from these shadows and etch our legacy across the cosmos." In that moment, amidst the echoing resolve of countless voices, the assembly of the lost transformed into a powerful, unbreakable bond. Each survivor, now a vital link in the chain of resurgence, carried within them the spark of defiance, a spark that promised to ignite a revolution and bring forth the dawn of humanity's renaissance. In a realm far removed from the clandestine sanctuaries of human survivors, the heart of the interstellar dominion pulsed with a relentless, calculated precision. High above the ruined worlds, on a sprawling flagship that served as both fortress and command center, Lord Zephram Arhoz ruled with a cold, unwavering authority. His domain was a testament to order incarnate, a labyrinth of gleaming corridors and immaculate control rooms where every detail was orchestrated to maintain the Dominion's iron grip over the galaxy. Within the central war room, Arhoz surveyed a vast array of holographic displays that mapped the movements of every suspected human hideout. The ambient light of these projections cast as chiseled features in a spectral glow, highlighting eyes that were as merciless as they were calculating. His voice, resonant and devoid of warmth, broke the quiet as he addressed his assembly of subordinates. "Locate every vestige of human defiance," he commanded, each word punctuated with a steely finality. "Our sensors indicate increased activity in the outer sectors. These rebels think themselves the heirs of a lost era. They're mistaken. Order must be re-established swiftly and without mercy." His tone brooked no dissent, and the officers around him responded with curt nods and efficient keystrokes. For Lord Arhoz, chaos was the enemy, a wild, unpredictable force that threatened the stability he so ruthlessly cultivated. In his eyes, the re-emergence of human remnants was not an act of hope, but a dangerous anomaly that had to be excised before it could disrupt the delicate balance of the Dominion's cosmic order. As he moved through the war room, his presence was like a ripple through a meticulously arranged still pond. Each step was measured, every gesture deliberate, reinforcing an unspoken command that there was no room for error in his meticulously engineered hierarchy. His personal quarters, nestled in the innermost sanctum of the flagship, were as austere as his public persona, a stark contrast to the chaotic passion of Captain Eliana Cross and her ragtag band of rebels. Here, in solitude, Arhoz allowed himself a moment to review the day's intelligence reports. The cold blue light of data streams danced across his features, reflecting the calculated depths of his resolve. In these reports, he found confirmation of the human movement, clandestine meetings, the reactivation of dormant battleships, and the hopeful murmurings of rebellion. Each piece of information only deepened his conviction. The humans, with all their sentimental clinging to a lost past, were a threat that had to be neutralized. Their legacy of impulsiveness and defiance was incompatible with the orderly universe he envisioned, a universe where strength and discipline reigned supreme. During a strategic briefing, one of his senior commanders, a gaunt figure with a sharp gaze, stepped forward with the latest intel. "My lord, our reconnaissance has confirmed multiple unauthorized energy surges near former Earth orbit. The rebels are reanimating their ancient war machines," the commander reported, voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of urgency. Arkoz's eyes narrowed imperceptibly. "Then mobilize the strike forces. I want a full-scale operation targeting those coordinates. We cannot allow them to harness the relics of the past to challenge our future," he declared, his tone echoing across the vast expanse of the room. His words, cold and unyielding, resonated with the promise of swift retribution, a stark reminder that the Dominion's justice was both inevitable and unforgiving. Outside the confines of his fortress-like vessel, fleets of Dominion warships began to stir. Coordinated strikes were meticulously planned, every maneuver calculated to extinguish the rebellious spark before it could ignite into a conflagration. As the orders rippled through the ranks, Arhoz allowed himself a rare, fleeting smile, a subtle expression of triumph at the thought of restoring order. In his mind, the rebels' fervor was nothing more than a misdirected echo of the past, one that would be silenced by the unyielding hand of progress and control. In that moment, as the Dominion prepared to unleash its iron fist upon the scattered remnants of humanity, Lord Zephram Arhoz epitomized the antithesis of chaos. While others clung to the volatile hope of resurgence, he was the personification of a future forged in discipline, a future where the old world's emotional scars were replaced by the cold logic of order. The battle lines were drawn, not only in space but in ideology, with Arhoz standing resolute against the tide of human passion. The chamber grew quiet once more, save for the soft hum of advanced machinery and the distant echoes of mobilizing forces. In that stillness, the Dominion's resolve was palpable, a silent promise that any challenge to its reign would be met with a calculated, unrelenting force. And as Lord Arhoz turned his gaze back to the swirling maps of the galaxy, his determination was as clear as the starlight that pierced the dark void. The era of human defiance was nearing its end. A cold, unsettled quiet had settled over the rebel outpost, a makeshift network of corridors and salvaged structures carved into the remnants of an old underground facility. The atmosphere vibrated with an unspoken tension, as though the very air anticipated a storm of conflict. In the dim glow of salvaged neon panels, scattered silhouettes of battle-worn rebels moved with deliberate caution, their faces etched with a mixture of hope and hardened resolve. Lieutenant Mara stood at a narrow window-like aperture, scanning the horizon with a practiced eye. Outside, the darkness was punctuated by brief flares of light, a sign of distant engines or perhaps the glint of polished metal reflecting the scattered rays of starlight. Her sharp gaze caught the glimmer of movement, a Dominion scout, moving with precision through the ruins. Instantly, a silent alarm pulsed through the outpost, igniting nerves long accustomed to the constant dance with danger. Rebel positions, prepare for contact. Mara's voice echoed through the tight corridors, firm yet laced with an urgency that sent ripples of determination through her comrades. The rebel fighters, each battle-scarred and resolute, snapped into action. Makeshift weaponry and salvage tech were readied. Silent signals passed between allies, each acknowledging that the night was about to spark into flame. Outside, the first salvo of the skirmish burst into life. A Dominion patrol, sleek in their stark uniforms and cold, calculating precision, emerged from the shadows like specters of an imposed order. Their ships, sleek and angular, cut through the darkness with an eerie, predatory grace. The rebels, though outnumbered and armed with relics of a bygone era, fought with the desperate ferocity of those with nothing left to lose. In the chaos, the clash of energy blasts and the metallic cries of colliding defenses filled the air. Amidst the tumult, Captain Eliana Cross found herself at the heart of the conflict, her presence a beacon of unwavering resolve. "Hold the line," she commanded, voice ringing over the dissonance of battle. Her eyes, alight with a fiery determination, darted from one corner of the battlefield to the next, each glance a silent promise that the spark of rebellion would not be extinguished. A rebel fighter, barely more than a shadow in the maelstrom, shouted, "They're too well coordinated. If we let them regroup, they'll crush us." His words were met with a chorus of urgent replies as small groups of rebels scrambled to fortify makeshift barricades fashioned from derelict panels and debris. In a narrow passage where the crumbling architecture offered scant cover, Mara and her team exchanged terse, tactical dialogue. "Alpha Team, fall back to the secondary line, secure the flank," she ordered, her voice a steady guide through the chaos. Amid the sporadic flashes of energy and the reverberation of distant explosions, the rebels maneuvered with both precision and raw, unfiltered emotion, a testament to their unwavering will to resist. Across the fractured battlefield, the Dominion scouts demonstrated their cold efficiency, advancing with clinical detachment. Their communications were clipped and emotionless, reinforcing the chilling certainty of their purpose. Yet, every calculated move they made seemed to be met by the unpredictable defiance of human spirit, guerrilla tactics born from desperation, improvisation that turned the ruins into a labyrinth of ambushes and surprise counterattacks. The skirmish reached a fevered pitch when a barrage of plasma fire forced a brief lull in the battle, allowing for a moment of raw, intense reflection amid the chaos. In that fleeting pause, Captain Cross crouched beside a flickering console salvaged from a wrecked ship, her mind racing through tactical calculations and memories of past losses. "Every spark matters," she murmured. As tracing the scars of the facility, each one ignites the flame that will one day engulf their tyranny. Her words resonated deeply with her fighters, igniting a renewed surge of determination. The rebels surged forward with a blend of desperation and valor, their hearts synchronized with the pulse of a rebellion that had been long dormant. Explosions flared like transient stars in the dark, and the resounding clamor of conflict was a symphony of both chaos and courage, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. As the skirmish wore on, it became clear that this initial confrontation was more than just an isolated clash. It was a harbinger of the larger storm to come. The Dominion's methodical precision collided with the rebels' unpredictable tenacity, each side testing the limits of its resolve. In every clash, every desperate maneuver, the underlying tension of this cosmic chess game grew ever more palpable, a tension that would soon erupt into a full-scale battle for the fate of humanity. In the aftermath of the brief lull, as battered fighters tended to wounds and regrouped in the shadows of their shattered defenses, the spark of rebellion had undeniably been fanned into flame. The whispers of that night, the brave words, the desperate actions, and the unyielding courage would echo in every subsequent act of defiance. Even as the Dominion scouts retreated, regrouping to plan their next calculated move, the rebels stood united, knowing that this was only the beginning. The storm was gathering on the horizon, and with it, the promise that the fight for their destiny was far from over. In the cavernous recesses of the long-forgotten orbital depot, a charged stillness gripped the air, a silence heavy with the promise of rebirth. Under the glimmer of faint emergency lights, Captain Eliana Cross and her trusted crew gathered around the control console of the lead battleship, its vast form lying dormant for so long that it had become one with the shadows. The aged metal, scarred by the passage of countless years, trembled under the touch of renewed energy as Ren, the seasoned technician, initiated the delicate dance between past and present. With deliberate care, Ren fed forgotten codes and intricate sequences into the ancient system. Sparks leapt from cracked circuits like fleeting stars, igniting the quiet gloom with bursts of luminous hope. As the control panels flickered, then glowed steadily, the once silent corridors of the battleship began to pulse with a rhythmic hum, a sound that resonated like the heartbeat of a sleeping titan now awakened. Every gauge and indicator flared to life, narrating a story of resurgence as the relic stirred with the echoes of old battles and lost glory. Captain Cross stood at the helm, her eyes reflecting the interplay of light and shadow on the console. In that moment, the air was thick with the weight of history and the raw potential of a rekindled future. The reactivation was more than a mechanical triumph. It was an invocation of every sacrifice made, every dream deferred, and every ember of defiance that had ever flickered within the hearts of her people. "It's coming back," she murmured, her voice a mix of awe and determination, as the reverberating hum transformed into a steady, insistent roar. Outside the depot's walls, the awakening echoed across the ruined landscape. Other battleships, once scattered like the fallen soldiers of an ancient war, began to stir in unison, a symphony of metallic life reasserting its presence. The soft pulse of their engines harmonized with the stirring winds, carrying a message to every hidden base and secret enclave. Humanity's lost might was returning, forged from the ashes of its past and ready to carve a new destiny. In that electrified moment, as the dim lights gave way to a radiance that chased away the long-held darkness, the rebirth of the ancient fleet shone as a beacon of hope. The battleships were no longer inert monuments of defeat. They had become living testaments to resilience, ready to reclaim their place in a galaxy that had long forgotten the power of human spirit. And as the awakened giants prepared to breach the silence of space, Captain Cross's gaze held an unspoken promise, a vow that this renaissance was only the beginning of a revolution that would echo through the stars. The void of space had transformed into a battleground where light and darkness clashed with unbridled fury. As the awakened battleships surged into motion, their engines roared like ancient beasts unleashed from their slumber. Against a backdrop of swirling nebulae and distant stars, the human fleet, reborn from relics of a bygone era, prepared to meet the Dominion's forces head-on in a battle that would decide the fate of a forgotten people. Captain Eliana Cross stood at the helm of her flagship, the console before her aglow with streams of tactical data. Outside, the void was punctuated by streaks of energy fire and the intermittent flare of explosions. Her eyes, reflecting both determination and a reverent memory of past sacrifices, traced the path of her newly awakened fleet as they maneuvered into formation. "This is our moment," she whispered to herself, voice resolute as the control panels pulsed with life. "For every soul lost, for every hope rekindled, we strike with the fury of our legacy." In the distance, Dominion vessels emerged like cold, predatory sentinels, sleek and angular, their designs a stark contrast to the weathered might of the human battleships. They advanced with relentless precision, their coordinated formations a testament to the iron will of Lord Zephyr Marhos. On the command deck of the Dominion flagship, Marhos observed the unfolding chaos with an unyielding gaze. His voice, transmitted across encrypted channels, was as clinical as it was commanding. "Deploy the strike teams. Eliminate the threat of human resurgence before it disrupts the established order." With a swift response, human fighters darted from the reactivated giants, their nimble craft weaving intricate patterns among enemy fire. The vacuum of space erupted in a dazzling display of energy blasts, plasma bolts, and laser beams intertwined in a deadly ballet. Amid the chaos, the human battleships, once dormant monuments of a lost era, now roared into life, their heavy armaments belching forth streams of incandescent fire. The airless darkness was momentarily lit by the violent glow of explosions, each burst a punctuation mark in the struggle for survival. Inside the bridge of her flagship, Captain Cross issued commands with unwavering authority. "All units, form the defensive perimeter. Target their lead vessels. Focus your fire on the command array." Her words were carried on the comms, each order met with a flurry of precise responses. The human fleet moved as one, every ship a part of a larger, defiant whole, a mosaic of hope, forged in the crucible of struggle. In the heart of the maelstrom, a fierce duel unfolded between the flagship of the rebels and a Dominion destroyer. Energy shields shimmered under relentless assault as both sides exchanged salvo after salvo. The impact of each hit sent tremors through the hulls, the reverberations echoing the weight of past failures and the promise of redemption. Amid the barrage, a fleeting moment of silence allowed Captain Cross to catch her breath, her eyes locking onto the distant silhouette of a Dominion command vessel. In that brief respite, she could almost see the ghost of every fallen comrade urging her forward. The Dominion's strategy was as cold as it was ruthless. Their formation shifted with calculated precision, attempting to encircle the human fleet and sever their lifelines of hope. But the rebel commanders had learned to dance in the chaos, using the ruins of old strategies and the unpredictability of human spirit to defy the mechanical coldness of their enemy. Amid swirling debris and shattered hulls, fighters darted in and out of enemy lines, executing daring maneuvers that defied expectation. Explosions rippled across the void like bursts of dying stars, each one carving a momentary scar into the fabric of space. The clash of titanic forces, steel against energy, passion against precision, created a symphony of war that resonated across the cosmos. Every laser beam, every explosion, carried with it the weight of centuries of ambition, the scars of battles lost, and the enduring hope of a people determined not to fade away. In the midst of this celestial tempest, a decisive clash loomed on the horizon. As the Dominion forces pressed their advantage, Captain Cross's voice rang out clear and unwavering, "Stand fast, everyone. This fight is for our future. Let our defiance be the spark that reignites the flame of humanity." Her command stirred the hearts of her crew, their resolve solidifying into an unbreakable wall of courage. For what felt like an eternity, the two fleets danced a deadly waltz in the cold silence of space. And then, in a final, cataclysmic surge, the rebel fleet unleashed a coordinated barrage, a climax of fury and hope that shattered the Dominion's advance. In that moment, as beams of light and dark collided in a brilliant, chaotic explosion, the cosmos itself seemed to hold its breath, bearing witness to the rebirth of a legacy long thought lost. The cosmic confrontation was not merely a battle, it was the crucible in which the future of humanity would be forged, a moment when every spark of rebellion blazed into an inferno of defiance. And as the battle raged on, one truth shone through the chaos: the human spirit, resilient and unyielding, was prepared to reclaim its place among the stars. In the aftermath of the cosmic maelstrom, silence reigned, a silence that spoke of both sorrow and promise. The once chaotic battlefield had settled into a landscape of scattered debris, smoldering remnants, and the quiet hum of wounded engines. Amid this fragile calm, the battered human fleet gathered, their silhouettes etched against the soft glow of distant nebulae. Every scar on their vessels told the tale of a fierce, relentless struggle, a struggle that had come at a great cost but had also ignited the spark of a new beginning. Captain Eliana Cross stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes tracing the delicate interplay of light and shadow across the ravaged expanse of space. Around her, the surviving crews worked with somber determination, salvaging what they could from the remnants of battle. The clash with the Dominion had been brutal, and while many brave souls had been lost, their sacrifice had paved the way for a resurgence long denied. In the quiet that now enveloped them, every heartbeat was a tribute to those who had fallen, and every whispered hope a pledge to carry on their legacy. As the fleet regrouped, the rebel commanders gathered in a makeshift war room aboard a repurposed battleship. Maps and tactical data sprawled across faded screens, yet amid the strategic calculations, there was a shared realization that this victory was but the first step in a long journey. "We have pushed back the tide," Captain Cross said softly, her voice resonating with both relief and determination. "But let us not forget that our struggle was never just for survival. It was for the rebirth of our identity. We are the forgotten, yes, but we are also the architects of a new destiny." Outside the sanctuary of their command center, the stars shone with renewed brilliance. The Dominion's forces, though still a formidable presence in the galaxy, had been halted by the fierce defiance of humanity. Across the void, whispers of the human resurgence began to stir in the farthest reaches of space, a clarion call to other lost souls and a cautionary tale to those who sought to impose order through tyranny. The echoes of the day's battle would ripple outward, kindling the embers of rebellion in worlds long resigned to silence. In the days that followed, survivors set about rebuilding not just their fleets, but their lives. Wounded comrades were tended to with a blend of advanced medical care and heartfelt compassion, while engineers and technicians labored to restore the ancient battleships to full might. Amid the reconstruction, the spirit of unity flourished, old rivalries gave way to collective purpose, and every shared success became a stitch in the fabric of a renewed human identity. Captain Cross often found solace in solitary moments beneath the vast canopy of stars. In the quiet corridors of her flagship, she would linger at the observation deck, reflecting on the magnitude of their journey. The scars of battle were a constant reminder of the price of defiance, yet they were also the birthmarks of a people reborn. In her heart, she nurtured the conviction that humanity's legacy was not confined to the annals of a forgotten past but was destined to blaze anew across the cosmos. As twilight fell upon the newly reclaimed fleet, a gentle radiance filled the void, a soft, persistent light that heralded the dawn of a future shaped by hope, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of rebellion. The legacy of those who had fought and fallen would forever be enshrined in this new era, their sacrifices echoing in every pulse of energy, every revived engine, and every determined gaze fixed upon the infinite horizon of possibility. In that moment, as humanity prepared to chart a course into an uncertain yet promising future, the stars seemed to whisper a timeless truth, that even in the deepest darkness, a single spark of hope can ignite a legacy that endures beyond the confines of time.